Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida, and today's date is Wednesday, January 21st, 2021. Oh, man. I was just listening to that Joe Biden's inaugural speech. Unmerited indeed. Someone who wrote that should have been a greeter at Walmart. I am not impressed at all. Very dangerous, folks. It sounds more like centralized rhetoric and proclaiming statism is a religion under the U.S. federal government. Always beware of those terms, temple and holy land or sacred facilities. When you hear governmental mouthpieces address it. Yep. That's what it is, my friends. Statism. And he got rid of the 1776 commission and wanted to use the 1619 instead. Dave Hodges agreed to learn about 1619. But get rid of the 1776 commission is unacceptable. We always got to look at both sides of history. And that's essential. The problem is everyone's try to focus you on one way and that's it. You could never, ever do that. I learned that when I was a very young kid. When I was a kid. 9, 10 years old. And I never took it for granted. I always like to absorb all that knowledge. Never relied, when it comes to history and so forth, I never relied on the school system. I went to school libraries. Public school libraries to be exact. And learned more on the other side. So that's how I see things. If you don't learn from the past, we'll soon damn to repeat it. That's why it's today's greatest teacher. Always look at everything across the board. Even if you hear some of my past podcasts, I talk about these things and address certain topics. A good example, Declaration of Independence. Jefferson wanted to end slavery right there and then, but based on differences, it had to be put to the side, but steps made it for what it is. Do I agree a war was the solution to ending it? Absolutely not. A lot of good folks from all sides suffer dearly. So that's why I tell everybody, always learn a lot more than what they try to teach you. Don't be an indoctrinated victim of indoctrination. Never fall for that, including your children, your neighbors, your friends, and your enemies if desired. Because they got to teach them about liberty too. And defend their rights against oppression. Ripple effects are cancerous. And we have to be, each and every single one of us that lives in the United States and beyond, by human nature, human natural law, have the obligation or duty on discouraging those tyrannical movements or causes, missions. Well, that will be my little rant on this aspect. But don't comply, folks. Nullify. Like I talked on my show yesterday, 10th Amendment movement's going to be a lot bigger than what it is. It's always been active. But now, with this administration, the unmerited individuals in there, all you got to do is look at their track record. And now the propaganda machine isn't talking about it. Oh, it feels like great now because Trump's out of office. See, you've been duped, fools. You've been swindled. And that's the confounded truth. Well, enough of that. Speaking about domestic terrorism, this one came out good. This is a good article. Came out yesterday. I was thinking about doing it last night, but I was finishing my other show. But I said, take the initiative and do it right now. This is what we'll be talking about. This will be a brief episode. Says here by Reason.com, more than 100 civil rights groups agree we don't need new domestic terrorism laws. Their letter to Congress warns about inevitable abuses against religious and racial minorities. This is what Scott Shackford has to say. They came out yesterday afternoon. Civil rights groups across the country are urging President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, as well as congressional Democrats, not to pass new laws to address any potential threats from white nationalists emboldened by and loyal to former President Donald Trump. Yeah, I could say infiltrators, right? In a letter dated Tuesday, 135 civil rights organizations ranging from religious groups, immigration advocates, and LGBT organizations to the American Civil Liberties Union and the American Association for the Advancement of Colored People expressed their concerns about calls to pass new criminal laws in the wake of the riot and temporary invasion of the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. You know how I look at it. It was a socially engineered inside job. And don't get me wrong, there's some of them in there that were supporters aren't 100% innocent on their exhibition. But, like I said, it's a lot bigger than what it is, folks. The Department of Justice, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, has over 50 terrorism-related statutes it can be used to investigate and prosecute criminal conduct, including white supremacist violence, as well as dozens of other federal statutes relating to hate crimes, organized crime, and violent crimes. The failure to confront and hold accountable white nationalist violence is not a question of not having the appropriate tools to employ, but a failure to use those on hand. To date, DOJ has simply decided as a matter of policy and practice not to prioritize white nationalist crimes. The letter is necessary because Biden and his administration came into the White House already planning to focus on domestic terrorism. And one possibility the transition team was mulling over is the Confronting Threats of Domestic Terrorism Act. H.R. 4192 was introduced in 2019 by Representative Adam Schiff. Yep. See, when you got guys like him, author bills like this, they are your enemy regardless what political views you have, folks. This man is one evil, treasonous, Palmolivist hack. Benedict Arnold was more of a man than Schiff will ever be. The act establishes new offenses whenever somebody commits a violent crime with the intent to intimidate or coerce a civil population, influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of a government. The laws cover crimes such as kidnapping, murder, and assault with a dangerous weapon, as well as property damage that creates a substantial risk of serious bodily injury to any other person. That include tyrannical elements in our U.S. government. It should be. Remember Waco, ATF, Ruby Ridge, okay, Randy Reaver. I'm not saying these people are great, but it is acts of terrorism, intimidation, tyranny, threats, coercion. The signatories on the letter know exactly where this kind of legislation leads. We literally just say goodbye to a president who ordered the Department of Justice to use every federal law it could against Antifa protesters, the letter observes. These bills and others with similar provisions are the wrong approach because, as we have seen, they will continue to use as a vehicle to target black and brown communities as they have done since their inception. Federal government has no shortage of counterterrorism powers, and these powers have been and will be again to use unjustly target black and brown communities, including Muslims, Arabs, Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian communities, as well as those engaged in First Amendment protected activities. The creation of a new federal domestic terrorism crime ignores the reality and would not address the scourge of white nationalism in the country. Because it's like this. If you go after one group, it follows. Domino effect. Ripple effect. Okay? The letter writers are not without congressional allies. Representative Radija Tlaib, from Democrat from Michigan, one of the squad, sent a lengthy letter of her own to congressional leaders, co-signed by 9 other Democrats in the House, including Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So she looks like she's flip-flopping here. Warning that the federal government's national security powers should not be expanded, Tlaib writes in part. While many find comfort in the increased national security powers in the wake of this attack, we must emphasize that we have been here before and we have seen where that road leads. Our history is littered with examples of initiatives sold as being necessary to fight extremism that quickly devolve into tools used for mass violations of human and civil rights of the American people. I took note yesterday that following September 11th attacks, many of the new authorities the federal government granted itself in order to fight terrorism ended up being used to surveil and track Americans through NSA records, collections, and Department of Homeland Security fusion centers. What is a relief that many people with connections to the incoming majority see the danger of expanding federal policing authority. Biden has a lengthy history of support for harsh enforcement. Where he does here will show us if he has truly changed his ways and come around on criminal justice reform. And I'll be honest. For Congresswoman Tlaib and even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the other Democrats that said no to this, you're right, and I thank you. Even though I have my battles, but doesn't mean we're going to disagree on everything. I'll be fair. That's a good thing. So remember, doesn't matter what your paradigm is, what you believe, as long as you don't violate others, it becomes a cancer. Patriot Act 2.0, they call it. Well, I gotta say, all these organizations, and even one I'm real critical of, overall, did a good job. They were right. So I always give them homage. And there's a link for the letter. You can read it yourselves, folks. But I'm very pleased. Because if you don't support, like I said, if you don't support, defend your enemy, protect your enemy's liberty from oppression, you create a president that could fall on you. That's what I'm saying. You don't want to see the dam break. We got to seal it up the best we can. If there's a little crack. Well, that will be it for now. So I'll talk to you guys another time. Thank you everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to Decorum. Oops, sorry, I'm getting hiccups here. Furthermore, I'll leave this footnote on this article on my speaker page. If you want to contact me, you can hit me at LokiLuckNumbers03@protonmail.com or do a donation. I'm at paypal.me. You hit me at paypal.me or cash.app/LokiLuck3. Supportreason.com. You know, hey, alternative media is great. You got some good stuff out there. And we got to support them and let the mainstream media know you need us more, we need you. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.